Hey everybody, it's your boy Nesto and I hope you're having a good day. Helldivers 2 has been in a wild roller coaster in the past couple days, with Sony attempting to sabotage the game's success with nonsense, and then the devs making big changes to the game as well. But in this video, I just want to focus on the recent impactful changes that made it into the game in the recent patch, and some hidden changes that came along with that as well. So without further ado, let's go over the changes. Now I'm gonna start with the most impactful nerfs that happened in the last patch. And the first one, you probably guessed it, is the Crescent Cannon. The Crescent Cannon got a generous nerf, and I said that because, let's be real here, it could have been way worse. While this nerf in a format could not be a problem, do most people run it anyways, the problem starts when the group is smaller than 4 players. And this is due to the enemy patrol change, where if you have a smaller group, you're gonna get more spawns across the map, especially affecting solo players the most in higher difficulties. And this means that you could potentially gonna get more aggro, and then having bad RNG where you need that Crescent Cannon to kill the elite enemies. So that makes this change really impactful, especially for solo players. Next weapon is the crossbow. Now this weapon has really been suffering from identity crisis since it was introduced. If they left this weapon how it was and added some of the improvements like the velocity increase and stagger, the crossbow would have been so much better. Now with this adjustment, they made it almost useless, to be honest. I was playing with this thing. I cannot clear trash. The Punishing Plasma does a way better job now on this. It does not do a better job than a Dominator, taking bigger enemies. And it cannot blow holes like the Eruptor. So I feel like this change has been more than a nerf rather than a buff. Now the next weapon on the list here, even though it's not on the patch notes, is the Archer. Now the reason why this weapon is here is because one of the changes directly affected this weapon. And it's that now the holes require more force to being staggered. So if you've been using this weapon a lot, especially on the automatons, do notice that the Archer was a very good crowd control tool against Hulk. Now you no longer can do that effectively. So technically this impacts the weapon a lot. Alright guys, and now for the buff, definitely the biggest W here has been the Senator. This is what this weapon needed, and now it feels so good using this weapon as a sidearm. We got more damage and faster reloads. It really cannot get better than that. We will need to wait and see how the new Desert Eagle that is coming in the next couple of days compared to the Senator, but right now it's really strong. Next, even though it's not in the list, in the patch note, the supply pack has received a buff, with the several weapons receiving a decreased number of maximum mags, but at the same time increasing the number of mags received from the resupply. This is a big W for the supply pack stratagem, and I can see myself using it more because a lot of people are gonna start running dry during the missions and asking for ammo. Next, the new players receive a new buff basically, and I say new players because as you know that most of the buffs on the recent patch were towards the standard warbond and starter weapons. And this is good because it will help new players to at least have competitive weaponry when starting the game and not feeling that good stuff is just behind paywalls or too far away do the grinding. Especially as the game keeps getting new content, new warbonds, this kind of buff to early stuff are necessary to keep a very good health of the game. Also, this change brings another W, and it is for the Stalwart. I believe the Stalwart shares the same damage modifier as the regular Liberator. So the damage also was bumped to 60. So weapon like the Peacemaker, Liberator, everything that is included in the Immobilized Warbond has received a buff across the board. So definitely this is a good change for the health of the game in the long term. Then the Heavy Machine Gun received a crossover on third person. This is actually another W, self-explanatory. Now it's definitely way better to use this thing. The only thing that this weapon is screaming right now is increase the mag size. And lastly, the biggest W at the moment is for the community, for coming together to win the major order against Sony for now. I'm sure they'll attempt to do something stupid again in the future. And to finish it off, this is the WTF changes that Arrowhead did that pretty much are questionable. It started with the Dominator. Although it's not really changed much, but I feel like when you make changes that make no sense or make no difference, why are you doing it in the first place? The Jar Dominator received a damage reduction, but if you play with it, pretty much you don't notice any difference. They could have made it as a shadow nerf, and nobody, I can guarantee you, nobody have noticed this if they made it as a shadow nerf. If anything, the weapon needed a little improvement on the ergonomics, because this is the main complaint of players, including myself, when using this weapon. Next is the Adjudicator. Now, Adjudicator did receive a buff. Technically, it received very conservative buff. However, I feel like these changes, some of them didn't make sense. First, they made it as an AR, and then if you have seen the leaks, we're gonna receive a new AR called the Tenderizer that technically has almost similar profile than the Adjudicator. So the Adjudicator doesn't even stand out or is gonna be any better. So I feel like the devs kind of went a little conservative, so they didn't want to make the new weapon worse than the Adjudicator, because obviously every DLC works like this, where the weapon is too strong at the beginning or stronger than the current offerings and then receives a nerf. But I think the case here was the Adjudicator, they hold up the weapon a little bit, and if anything, the Adjudicator, I feel like it should have stayed as a marksman rifle, and then made the recoil changes only when you change to semi-auto. You can left the previous profile for the recoil when full automatic, and if anything, you can make it ammo penetration level 2 to pretty much bump it a little bit on the damage side and make it a little more unique compared to other marksman rifles in the game. Then we have the AR Guard Dog. Can the devs put a goddamn drum mag on this thing already? Alright guys, this is all I have for you today. If you're still watching this video, I'm guessing you like this kind of content. Make sure to subscribe today for more videos like this. Leave a comment in the section below what are your thoughts on these changes, and please leave a like to put this video out there. It's your boy Nesto. Thank you so much for watching. Signing off.